This picture about sums up this whole rotten fucking situation. Done it now! This is how they intend on ending racism in this country? By attacking defenseless old white men? This is how they intend on ending racism in this country? By blaming everything on white supremacy! The boogeyman that lives under your bed and is almost just as real. I believe you can fight fire with fire, but not when it comes to racism. Racism is not fire, it's the devil itself. And you don't fight racism with racism, and do I even need to be pointing this out? They still haven't caught this fucking scumbag either, and in case you can't tell, I'm getting really sick and fucking tired of this bullshit. Look, I don't care what color you are, I don't care what religion you are, I don't care how rich you are, I don't care how poor you are, I don't care how far left you are, I don't care how far right you are, I don't care how liberal you are, I don't care how conservative you are, I don't care how democratic you are, I don't care how Republican you are. A piece of shit is a piece of fucking shit. Who looks oppressed here? Who looks like they have the power here? It's time to start calling a spade, no pun intended. Racism is racism is racism. Ain't no such thing as reverse racism. And anyone who says that racism equals prejudice plus power is just looking for a way to rationalize and justify their own bigotry and hatred. Newsflash! Racism is never going to go away. I'm sorry, it's just not. Especially when you decide to use an entire race of people as an excuse to carry out your own racist agenda by claiming that they are the racist. Let that sink in for a minute. Racism is never going to go away, especially if you don't stop fucking talking about it, especially when it's all that you talk about. It doesn't matter how many signs you carry. It doesn't matter how many protests you go to. It doesn't matter how much legislation is passed. It doesn't matter how many laws they pass. It doesn't matter how many YouTube channels they take down or Twitter accounts they suspend. It doesn't matter how many people you beat or kill. There will always be people with hate in their hearts for their fellow man, for something as arbitrary and stupid as the color of their skin. Or even, in the case of police, their occupation. I mean, how narrow-minded and bigoted is it to hate somebody and assume that they are racist and now to indiscriminately kill everyone just because they are a cop and just because 9. Count them, folks, 9!
Number 9. Number 9. 9, 9, 9, 9.
Unarmed black men were killed by police last year. 9 out of 40 million. Would I call that a problem?
9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9!
And then who is going to be the first to call them when they need them? And then who is going to be the first to complain that they don't show up because you've defunded them? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You want to complain, so you stack the fucking deck. Look, man, it's been said before, and I'll say it again, that the demand for racism in this country far exceeds the supply. Most of the major hate crimes that the news has blown up over the past 8 years have been fake. They've been hoaxes. The lesbians who claim that their house was vandalized and burned down by their homophobic neighbor. Yeah, they did it! The 3 SUNY students in Albany who claimed that they were attacked on a bus by a group of white men. Yeah, it was the black girls who were actually the aggressors. Hoax! The black church in Mississippi that was burned down by white supremacists who spray painted "Vote Trump" on the wall. Yeah, it was burned down by one of the black parishioners. Fake! The girl who claims she was jumped, held down, and had her dreadlocks cut by some white boys in school. Made it up! The Muslim at the University of Michigan who claims that a drunk white man threatened to light her on fire if she didn't remove her hijab. Hoax! Taylor Volk at North Park University claiming that she was the target of threatening emails from Trump supporters because she was bisexual. Yeah, don't flatter yourself, sweetheart. Sent them to herself. The Philadelphia woman who claimed that she was harassed at a gas station in Delaware, as if being in Delaware isn't enough.
It's time to name our 5 finalists, starting with Miss Montana. Butte from Butte.
Miss South Carolina.
Nothing could be finer.
Miss Delaware.
Gee, good for her.
By white Trump supporters saying that they won't have to deal with the N-word anymore now that Trump is in office. Yeah, she made it up! An 18-year-old Muslim woman in Louisiana who claimed that she was robbed by two white men, one of them wearing a MAGA hat while yelling racial slurs at her. Yeah, never fucking happened! The church that found swastikas spray painted on the side of the church along with anti-gay slurs and the words, Heil Trump! Yeah, it was the church organist that did it. Hoax! A second 18-year-old Muslim, this time in New York, who claims that she was attacked by a group of Trump supporters in the subway while onlookers did nothing. She later confessed to making the whole thing up. Yep, another hoax! David Williams set his own car on fire and spray painted the words Negro lover on his garage door. Yeah, he did it himself, but not before collecting $5,000 from a GoFundMe account that sympathetic people set up for him. A student writes anti-Muslim graffiti on his own door. Jussie Smollett, Bubba Wallace, Sarah Silverman claiming somebody painted swastikas on the street. No, you dingbat. It was just construction workers mocking where gas lines were. And I could go on and on and on. In fact, as a matter of fact, just a few days ago, politician Jonathan Lopez sent himself some hate mail and tried to claim some of those sweet victimhood status points for himself. Racism will never go away. Nothing you will ever do or can ever do will stop it, especially when many of you can't even admit that one race can be racist towards the other. Seriously, how are we supposed to deal with an issue when there is that much denial going on? How are we supposed to deal with the issue when millions of people have a free pass for being racist? How? I'll tell you how. Realize that you can't end it. Realize that constantly talking about it is one of the things that is keeping it alive. Constantly talking about it is one of the things that is keeping it relevant. As I mentioned before, realize that anybody of any race can be racist. Again, I don't care what color you are. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what side of the political fence you sit on. Racism is racism is racism. And the sooner we all come to realize that, and the sooner we all deal with each individual situation as just that, an isolated incident, and not a sign that we live in some horribly unjust and racist country, the sooner we can all start living in some semblance of peace and harmony. As humans, there are more things we have in common than we have things that divide us. And as Americans, well, there are even more things we have in common. Realize that that person whose head you're kicking in for simply having a different opinion than yours, or a different skin color than yours, has a dog at home just like you, has a cat at home just like you, has children at home just like you, has a wife at home just like you, has people who love him or her just like you. Just like you! And if you never experience something as horrible and degrading as racism, that should be a really good thing. A really good thing! Hooray! Because it's a very serious thing, which is exactly why you shouldn't aspire to be a victim. In other words, don't fucking lie about it. Should I even, again, do I even need to be saying this? People should be ashamed of themselves for even considering lying about something as egregious as a hate crime. And fuck you if you do, because that's where our similarities end. But that's just my opinion. Fuck it, I'm done.